everyone, welcome to my travel channel. I am Roxy. Some of you may have seen me on my other channel, So Roxy, which focuses on fashion and lifestyle. This channel will primarily focus on travel, so all things travel tips, travel guides, travel vlogs. We'll discuss travel on this channel. Today I'm going to be sharing my tips for planning a trip. So if that's something that you're interested in, just keep watching. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do is have an idea of where you want to visit. What country, what city in that country, what cities. If you're visiting more than one cities, that's very important. So you kind of have an idea of where to start. Usually I have an idea of the country I'm going to visit next before I even finish my last trip. I always have an idea of the countries that I want to visit, which ones are at the top of my list, and then what cities I want to visit in that country. So that's the first thing you want to have an idea of, right? You want to know that first before you do anything else. After you decide where you want to visit, you want to do a quick research. You want to educate yourself on where you're going. You want to know the best time to go. Is it during peak season, shoulder season, or off season? Peak season usually have a lot of people there, prices are higher, and the weather might be great. Sometimes it may be too hot. You know, case in point, when I went to Italy in August of 2018, it was just ridiculously hot. It was better than it raining and being cold, but it was just so hot. So peak season, when everybody's out of school, families are traveling, it's going to be more people, it's going to be a little bit pricier. Then you have shoulder season, which I think is kind of like a happy medium in between peak and off season. Shoulder season, there's less crowds, prices aren't too bad, and the weather is fairly great, maybe 70-degree weather. That's perfect for me. So shoulder season for me is usually the happy medium. I love traveling during shoulder season. And then you have off season, where prices are cheaper, right? But the weather might not be great. It might be raining all the time. It might be cold. There's less crowds. So for each of them, there's a pro and a con, right? So off season, you're going to deal with less crowds, but the weather might not be great and it will be less pricey. Some places are even closed completely. Like I've seen videos online where places are completely closed during like the off season. There's not a lot of places. I've seen videos. You should check out TikTok. But yeah, so you want to decide the best time to visit a place. You want to do your little research. I usually Google and see the best time to visit, for example, like Japan, right? I have an idea of the best time to visit Japan. Next thing you want to do is you want to research the cities, right? Research the cities and the towns that you're visiting. Have an idea of places that you want to go, things that you want to do, excursions that you want to do. So how safe is it? Is it affordable? Do the locals like tourists? I've seen videos online where parts of Spain, they protest a lot about foreigners. They don't want too many tourists to visit. So you gotta want to do your research before you go to certain cities and certain countries, right? And then transportation and how to get around. You want to have a general idea. Do they use trains, buses? Do you need to rent a car? Do you need to hire a personal driver? Those are all important. Do quick little researches before you even buy a ticket, because these quick researches will let you decide like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be visiting this place at this time, or maybe you can go ahead and book. And it will probably give you a better idea too. So that's a quick little research you want to do before you go anywhere. So once you've done your quick little research and you decide where you want to go, now you want to make sure you secure the time off from work. Whether you work a 9 to 5 or you're self-employed, you want to set aside that time to visit these places, right? Next you're going to do is start searching for your tickets. I usually start looking for my plane tickets like maybe 6 months before. I usually use Google Flights, Skyscanner, Hopper to basically track flights and track the prices. And usually they'll let you know sometimes, especially on Google Flights, they'll say between this time and this time, that they'll say between August 14th and December 14th is the best time to buy a ticket, right? They'll give you like a date range. But honestly, because I'm always so excited to go on my next trip, I just check periodically. I just keep checking all the time until I see a price that I'm like, okay, this is affordable to go somewhere, right? So yeah, so that's the first thing you're gonna do. You're gonna track your flights on whether Google Flights, Skyscanner, or Hopper. Usually they also compare the prices between airlines. You'll see if you have to take a non-stop or a flight that have a stop. I like non-stop flight. I just want to get to where I'm going. That's why I like using Google Flights, because it compares the prices with different airlines, and it will let me decide which airline I want to travel on and the time of day I want to travel. So that's the first thing that you're going to do. So even though I use like Google Flights and other websites or other apps to track my flights, I actually go to the airline website to actually purchase the ticket. This is important because if you have any issues, if you have to change your flight, sometimes you have a lot of issues when you use third-party sites. So I like to just go directly to the website. I use Google Flights, Skyscanner, Hopper, and those to like check the prices and compare prices with different airlines. But then I usually go directly to the airline to purchase my ticket, just to avoid the hassle. Another thing you can do too, if you have those credit cards that allows you to transfer travel points to like an airline, use your travel points. I am notorious for using my travel points. I have an upcoming trip and I use travel points, partial travel points and cash to get that ticket. And I just came back from my trip from Jamaica and I use travel points for that. Travel points are great. So if you can use travel points to book your ticket, definitely go ahead and use that. I would also advise to add insurance. Because I bought my ticket like way ahead of time, sometimes I try to add insurance, even if it's $25. Make sure you buy a ticket that is changeable, because anything can happen, any kind of emergency. Buy a ticket that's changeable. Unless you know for a fact that, okay, it's a short trip and you're gonna buy the ticket like for next week, right? Then you can say, okay, I'll just buy a basic economy and not worry about insurance. But if you're buying a ticket like 6 months ahead, I would say try to get travel insurance, or at least get a ticket that's changeable where you can change the date, or you can get the money back in travel credit if you're not able to take the trip at all anytime soon. So that's something that you want to be mindful of when you're buying your ticket, right? You want to buy it with travel insurance, or you want to buy a ticket like an economy ticket that might allow you to change it, or they'll put the price of the ticket in a travel credit or a travel bank and you can use it at a later time. That's very important. So after you've secured your ticket, now it's time to search for accommodations. You can either stay at an Airbnb or a Vrbo or a hotel or a boutique hotel. Airbnb and Vrbo are very similar. I think Vrbo mostly rents out the entire property. I'm not sure if it's in a lot of countries. Airbnb is in a lot of countries. You can just rent a room. If you don't want to rent an entire house or entire space, you can do shared space. And Airbnb, I would say, is more like Uber, while Vrbo is kind of like Lyft. I've seen Vrbo outside of the country. I think I've searched for Vrbo once, and it was when I was going to Jamaica. But I'm not sure I've never really searched for it anywhere else. I usually just go on Airbnb because I've been using Airbnb for years. And then between hotels and boutique hotels are usually smaller. They're not usually all inclusive. So if you're staying at a boutique hotel in, like, for example, Jamaica, you'd probably have to like pay for your food. I don't think it offers breakfast or anything like that. So I don't mind staying in boutique hotels because they're usually smaller, and especially when I go to Europe, I like to explore and try the local restaurants. So for me, complimentary breakfast or breakfast included is not important to me. I have added breakfast to one of my stays when I went to Brussels, but because the breakfast was nice and the reviews were really, really good. So that's the next thing you want to do. You want to search for a place where you want to stay based on your budget, right? And you also want to read the reviews. Now that I've mentioned reviews, you want to read the reviews of previous guests, whether it's an Airbnb, whether it's a hotel, boutique hotels. Please read those reviews. That will help you make a decision on whether or not you want to stay at these places, right? You also want to read the cancellation policy, especially for like Airbnb. Sometimes the cancellation is within 2 days after making the booking, right? What if something happens? You want to try to get a cancellation that's closest to the date when you're going to travel. That's very important. Read those cancellation policies for Airbnb. I think hotels are a little bit different. Most of the time you pay at the counter, so you don't usually have to worry about it. Maybe just need to cancel maybe 24 hours before. But if you're staying at an Airbnb, please read those cancellation policies. Another thing for accommodations, you want to stay at somewhere that's close to transportation, right? To get a train, to get an Uber, to get the bus. Maybe if you're gonna rent a car, then that's just easier, right? But if you're not gonna rent a car and you're gonna take public transportation, you want to make sure you stay somewhere that's close enough to the transportation. Okay, so you want to find a place that's not too far from transportation and also not too far from excursions. There's pros and cons. If you're staying too close to the city, it's going to be more expensive. On the outskirts of the city, you're going to have to make, you know, a longer journey into the city to see your excursions. You don't want that. So you want to try to find like a happy medium, right? But just kind of like take that into consideration, that if you're staying close to the city, you're going to spend more, where if you're staying outside of the city, it's going to take you a longer time to get to where you're going. So keep that in mind. And then to book, you can use the Airbnb app or the Vrbo app. If you're staying at a hotel or a boutique hotel, you can use booking.com or hotels.com to search for a hotel, right? And remember, read those reviews from previous guests, because that will help determine whether or not you stay somewhere or not. Okay, so the next thing that you want to do is book your excursions. You would have done your little research and the places that you want to go and things that you want to do. So this is the time now to book it. After you've secured your accommodation, it's time now to book your excursions. I usually wait like 2 to 3 weeks before my trip to book excursions. But for certain sites, like popular sites and popular excursions, they're very, you want to put them ahead of time. When I went to Amsterdam, I wanted to go to the Anne Frank Museum, and we didn't book any tickets ahead of time. We're like, oh, we're just going to go, and just because we got to Amsterdam so early in the morning, we just waltzed in and think that we're going to get a ticket. They were sold out for the next 6 weeks. So you want to make sure that for places that are very popular, you want to have an idea how quick do they sell out. When we went to the Heineken experience to do the tour of how they make Heineken, we just bought the ticket and went straight in. But Anne Frank Museum, no, they were booked for the next 6 weeks. Same thing when I went to the Victoria and Albert Museum in London this past Christmas. I wanted to see the Naomi Campbell exhibition, and there was no tickets on the day that I went. I wish I had looked ahead of time, because I knew I wanted to see the exhibition, but I didn't. So kind of have an idea. If it's a popular site that you want to visit, maybe you want to book your excursions ahead of time, and kind of look at the cancellation policy as well, that if you're not able to go, would you be able to get a refund or a credit or something like that. Before I book excursions, I usually use like TikTok and IG to get ideas and to see what people say, see their reviews of what, when they went. You can usually go to either the direct, like for example, go to direct Anne Frank Museum or the direct website for some of these places, but you can also use TripAdvisor, right, to book some of these excursions. TripAdvisor is really good for bundling excursions together. And actually, I want to show you guys on screen how you can actually see on TripAdvisor when you go there. Usually it's a small company that's offering this stuff. Like when I went to Italy, we went on a bus tour from Florence, and we went to Florence, and we went on a bus tour, 12-hour bus tour, and it took us to Siena, to a Chianti winery, to San Gimignano, to Pisa. And we were able to find out the name of the actual company that offered it. So when you go on TripAdvisor, you'll see Tuscany day trip from Florence. I can't believe it. I went 7 years ago, and they still offer this excursion. It's a 12-hour bus tour. So you click on TripAdvisor or Vieta, right? And you scroll all the way down, and it will show you the name of the company. So if you kind of want to have an idea, if you want to maybe go directly to the company and book, maybe you might still have to go back to TripAdvisor, where, for example, this was supplied by the Walkabout Florence Tours, and you can click on there and you can see everything about the tour operator. So that's just some helpful information to know. So lately, I've been just going directly to the website. So if I'm going to like Highclere Castle, I went directly to the website. To Edinburgh Castle, I'm going to be going to Edinburgh Castle soon. I'm going to go directly to a website. I'm not going to use Vieta, but some things, especially if you're doing like a little bus tour. Last year I did a bus tour to Leeds, Canterbury Cathedral, and I think it was the White Cliffs of Dover. The cliffs are not so white anymore. I went to Vieta, TripAdvisor, and booked that excursion. So that's just something to know. You can go to Vieta /TripAdvisor. I think it's Vieta. Vieta.com. I keep saying TripAdvisor, but it's really Vieta.com. And to book your excursions if you want, or you can just go directly to some of these websites. Like as I said, Anne Frank Museum, Highclere Castle. I went directly to the website to buy my ticket. And something you want to add, if you are one of those people who like to shop, and I usually shop when I go to Europe, you want to add shopping to your list. That's an excursion because it's going to factor into your itinerary when we talk about itinerary later. So add shopping to the list of things to do. Okay, so next is transportation. You want to ensure you're able to get to and from your accommodation and excursions without any hiccups. You want to know where to buy like train tickets or bus tickets. Some countries allows you to just tap your credit card to pay on the bus and the train, while some of them offer like a day pass or a 3-day pass. I use a 3-day pass when I went to Paris, and I'll talk about that when I do my Paris travel guide. And when I went to Amsterdam, I think the train ticket also allowed me to go to different, some museums. So I'll talk about that when we go over my Amsterdam travel guide. But yeah, so some will allow you to use your credit card. The only thing I'll advise, if you're going to use a credit card to tap on the train and the buses, especially in Europe, you want to use the same card, right? Especially, for example, in London. If you go to London and whatever card you use to tap in, you want to use it to tap out, because I think you might be charged twice, right? They're not be able to capture your trip. So when you're entering a train in London, you have to tap in to get into the train station, and you need to tap out to get out of the train station. So you want to use the same card when you're doing that. You want to have a good idea of how to get in and around any place that you go to. When I went to Brazil, I used Uber a lot because it was very not expensive to use Uber there. So it was actually cheaper to use Uber than to use the train in Brazil. And also, when I went to Italy, we didn't just stay in one city. We flew into Venice, then we took the local train to Florence, spend one night, and then took the local train to Rome, spend 2 nights, right? So 2 nights in Venice, 1 night in Florence, 2 nights in Rome. We spent like a total of 5 nights in Italy. And we got around by using local train. Same when we went to Belgium, we took the train from Brussels to Ghent, to Bruges, and also to Antwerp. And then when I also went from London to Manchester. So you want to have an idea of where to get train tickets, how to kind of like get from one place to the next. If you're going to take public transportation, you want to do a little research, right? And how much is this going to cost? Can you use a credit card on the bus or train, or do you need to have a pass? You want to do all of that before you go anywhere. The next thing you want to research are places to eat. TikTok is going to be your best friend. I love using TikTok to search for places to eat like in Brussels, or places to eat like in London. There's so many people offering their honest reviews online from TikTok. Go on TikTok to be able to get ideas of places to eat for when you go to different cities, right? And I don't mind cautiously trying local cuisine, but I'm not eating no escargot or snails when I go to Paris. Absolutely not. I went to Paris and I'm like, I am not eating that. It's not for me. So use TikTok or Instagram and YouTube actually to figure out places that you can eat to different cities when you go there. Another thing that you want to know is, can you use credit card throughout your time, or can you use cash? I would say use your credit card, because most credit cards have no foreign transaction fees, and you'll probably get reimbursed if somebody tried to, overcharge you or whatever, or didn't deliver on the service. But also have a little bit of local currency. That's great to have in case of any emergency, right? But you also don't want to walk around with wads of cash, and it takes me to my next point of safety, right? You want to try to be aware of your surroundings whenever you visit any country at all, right? In Paris, they usually announce in the train station that you should be aware of pickpockets. I've heard that London, on my last couple of visits to London, I've been hearing that there's a lot of phone snatching going on. And when I went to Brazil, the locals were basically telling me to, don't wear a lot of valuables, keep your valuables safe. So you want to be mindful of your surroundings when you go to these different countries. No matter where you go, try to be mindful of your surroundings. The next thing that you want to do is create an itinerary. That will help you to maximize your time when you go to different places. You can plan out your excursions, you can plan out your shopping trips. But you can also schedule your rest, because my partner is usually the one who create an itinerary, and we've been to places where he didn't even schedule lunch. Schedule your food time, schedule your time when you gotta eat. You have to eat when you go on these trips. I'm a traveler, I'm not a vacationer. So when I go somewhere, I want to see as much as possible, but you should also make sure you schedule your time in between excursions to eat or to shop, or even to rest. Some people I know will probably be like, you know what, today's gonna be my rest day, I'm not doing much, I'm just gonna stay at the hotel. That's fine too, right? You can schedule a rest day in between. But yeah, definitely create an itinerary because you'll be able to maximize your time and you'll be able to see as much as possible. You don't want to go to these countries and be trying to figure out what to do, where to go, and when to do it. No, you want to have all of that planned before you even leave. So after you've after you've gotten your accommodations and you have an idea of where you're going, you want to create your itinerary on where you're going to go and when you're going to go, right, to these places. So create an itinerary is my next tip. And another helpful tip, something that I do, my partner and I do, we track our spending from the moment we bought the first ticket or spent the first set of money on a trip. We start tracking our spending. We create like a spreadsheet, and every time we pay for something, we go in there and we log it, right? That will kind of give you an idea of how much money did this trip really cost you. Because if you're not keeping track of those things, then you're not going to really know how much the overall trip, and you might forget. So keep track of your spending to kind of like have an idea. So if somebody should ask you, well, how much did this trip cost you? Then you can say, you know what, the trip cost me XYZ amount, right? I actually track my pre-trip self-care, so my wax, if I get my manicure or pedicure, if I get my hair done, if I get a massage or a facial before my trip, I actually log them and I calculate them as a part of my trip, even though that's stuff that I kind of do like maybe once a month or once every 2 months anyway, but I usually calculate it as a part of my pre-trip self-care. So you track your spending because it will give you like a good idea of how much you actually spend, an accurate idea of how much you spend for the trip. And lastly, take lots of pictures. Naturally, I take a lot of pictures and videos for my social media platforms, but take lots of pictures and videos, you know, to create memories. You can look back on it and be like, you know what, I went to Italy when I was 30, and you have those pictures to look back on. So take lots of pictures when you go on your trip. And this is also to hold me over until my next trip. Like I can look back and reminisce over the couple of months before my next trip. So those are all my tips. I'm actually going to put them in the description below. I'll list them below just in case maybe that I talk too fast or you weren't able to follow up. I'll put like a full list of the tips in the description. Be sure to follow and watch my current vlogs that I have. I have some vlogs from when I went to London back in the Christmas holiday, so check out my vlogs. Thank you so much for watching. Welcome to my community, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!